morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, everybody. Welcome back to yet another review. This is Amelia. This is her last. Well, this isn't Amelia speaking. This is her last scary movie of.
When you said last one, I was like, are you getting rid of me?
She's gonna die.
Do you not want me to do this anymore?
Anyway, we are back with the last spooky film for Amelia this month. We've done a bit of a reshuffle. This won't be our last spooky film of the month. This is gonna be our last, direct horror film of the month, I should say. We've got one more film planned for this Tuesday coming up. Of course, because it's Halloween, how can we not? I'm your host as ever, Purple Midnight, joined by Amelia, the Obsidian Nook, Patla SMR, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. Probably should have done that first. So yeah, this is our last Halloween spooky film of the month, horror film. We are of course looking at Halloween 2, the 1981 original, not the Rob Zombie remake that we've already covered.
I'm really pissed off.
This one was not very good, we think. That's our opinion. We don't really like this one. It's rather boring, to be honest. And half of the film shouldn't even happen, to be honest. All of the stuff with Loomis in this film, I think, is a complete waste of time. And then he appears right at the end of the film and dies.
It's not only that, there was like
There's a lot of points which didn't entirely make sense, mostly the kills.
out and then once makes
For some context,
washing machine.
the washing machine just scared everyone. I forgot to say, we have Stasi, we have Tiny, and we have Smitten.
And they did kind of watch it.
They have been up here for the most part. While we were watching this, Stasi looks really pissed off. We have every cat for the first time in 60 reviews. We have Stasi, we have Tiny, and Smit all up here asleep at once.
Could have a new co-host.
We could next Halloween, but we'll see. We'll see. Other than Morgan, who we will get back at some point, hopefully in the next week or so. Hopefully, anyway. But anyway, we are here with Halloween 2. We were just saying how we didn't really like this film. There's a lot of parts of this film don't make a whole lot of sense. A lot of the kills are rather stupid. This review is not even 2 pages long. This gets to 1 and 1.5, maybe a bit further. Just over 1 3/4 of a page. This could be a really short one, so I apologise. Anyway, this was Amelia's choice. We are continuing with Halloween. We didn't want to do. She regrets her choice, even though we probably wouldn't have liked Scream 3 anyway. But fucking batteries are low now. Had to do that as we are in the middle of recording. Would not be doing that. We're just gonna quickly switch over batteries. I do apologise. We will be back in 2 seconds. Right, apologies about that. Apologies for the technical issues. It would wait until we fucking start recording. Yeah, we didn't like this one, unfortunately.
There was just a few things that
Knife magic is back, but this time it even makes even less sense. So we'll cover that when we get to it. This isn't going to be a very long one, so I apologise.
when you get
Sorry, just say that again.
when you get to the point where you get stabbed.
Oh yeah, spoiler warning. Yeah.
Because if I'm thinking about it and thinking about it, technically, it shouldn't do that much.
No. But anyway, we'll cover that when we get to it. Stay tuned to hear Amelia have a ramble for probably the first time. So this was directed by Rick Rosenthal in his directorial debut. I can't remember if he's done anything before, but his name is very I didn't want Rick Rosenthal Fabrics. Go away. Have we done anything of his? He's done Halloween 2, Resurrection, bunch of other stuff that I've not really heard of, if I'm honest.
I haven't screwed up because I will do that film at some point because I have it in the drawer, and I do really like that one. But that will probably be, it is kind of like a holiday, like with her going away for the summer holiday. Does that make sense? So I'll kind of do it when the weather gets a bit warm again.
Yeah. When the weather picks up a little bit, because it is autumn now. We've got loads of films to cover in the meantime. So yeah, it's directed by Rick Rosenthal and written by Joan Carpenter and Deborah Hill, returning from Halloween 1. Don't know how they made Halloween 1 so iconic and then made this, but, you know. So we'll go right into our little discussion, as always. There's going to be quite a few ramblings, so brace yourself for that. So, confusingly, for you anyway, this film follows immediately after the events of the first film. For some reason, the quality was different to the original film. Because then when it switches to the new footage shot for this film, you can tell that they've just recycled the old footage.
I don't know if that's because, like, my mum had the box set, so I don't think, like, I don't even know if they do remaster.
I think so.
But there was quite a lot of, like, that really old back of, like, kind of...
There's a lot of the grainy footage that's typical for this. This is all done on film as opposed to digital, of course, so this is harder to do. So it doesn't look as good as modern films. So immediately following the events of the previous film, Michael Myers, now played by Dick Warlock, who we will see in Halloween 3 briefly, has escaped being shot by Sam Loomis, played by returning Donald Pleasance, after attacking Laurie Strode, of course, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Also returning from the original films and Halloween Ends. Have we done anything else that has her in it? She was briefly, like, technically in a cameo in Scream 1, I think was the last thing we sort of, like, jokingly said about. She was about to get mixed up with Scream Queens again. She keeps talking really quietly. So, Michael enters the house and retrieves a knife before escaping, stabbing the neighbour to death in her home. Police arrive as paramedics evacuate Laurie from, I think it's Tommy's house. With one of them, Jimmy, played by Lance Guest, recognising her as his colleague, Bud, played by Leo Rossi, drives them to hospital. A hospital nurse, Jill, played by Tawny Moyer, and Dr. Mixter, played by Ford Rainey, put her to sleep against her wishes. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett, played by returning Charles Cyphers, continue their search for Michael. As I briefly mentioned at the start, this, like, subplot with Loomis is absolutely pointless. It's pointless up until the end where, before it was retconned, Loomis was just killed. Like, it didn't seem like there was any point in bringing him back, because he's barely in this film, as you will hear. They spot someone, unfortunately, resembling Michael, because he's wearing the mask and the jumpsuit, which is stupid. And pursue him until another cop appears in his car, crushing him against a van that also randomly explodes. Yeah, he gets nice and crispy. He's smaller, and the mask has blonde hair, I believe. But I suppose if you're in the moment, you can kind of see that. But I don't know.
Yeah, but
he was a kid. He was 17. But apparently Michael Myers in this is 21. I don't get it. The logic doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, that fucking kid, Ben Tramer, who we will learn about later on, the guy who was going to go on a date with Laurie in the first film, he's fucking dead, unlucky. Loomis realised as they haven't killed Michael as Brackett receives word of his daughter Annie, who has died. Jimmy, alongside a nurse, Alves, played by Gloria Gifford, visits Sorry, I completely fucked up writing it. Jimmy visits Laurie alongside a nurse named Alves, but she quickly ushers him and Bud out of the room. Deputy Hunt, played by Hunter Von Leer, sends a traumatized Brackett home before he and Loomis leave to identify the body. Another nurse, Karen, played by Pamela Susan Shoop, absolutely amazing surname, arrives at the hospital unaware that Michael has followed her. Jimmy once again visits Laurie, telling her about Michael and his escape, but Alves once more interrupts them. Security guard Garrett heads outside where a noise from a dumpster alerts him, and a cat jumps on him from inside and knocks him over. Oh, my hair just flicked down onto my face, that scared me. So Jimmy... Oh no, toilet. Garrett finds a broken lock on a door, and upon investigating, Michael lodges a hammer into his skull, killing him. Yeah, that was brutal. Like a claw hammer, just... Nice. Loomis and Hunt, in the meantime, investigate the body and decide that they need to treat it as if Michael is still alive, because they don't have time to wait around for the medical records to come... dental records to come back. Hunt and Loomis stop at the Myers house, which is in the process of being mobbed, where Loomis updates him on Myers' story and how he has returned. And some kids inform them that Ben Tramer has gone missing wearing a certain mask. Yeah, he is very missing. That cop is getting sacked. Karen is called into a hospital room where Bud surprises her, but she leaves him to continue her rounds. Laurie dreams back to when she was a child, visiting a boy in hospital who is clearly supposed to be Michael. Of course it is. Like, she goes to a fucking hospital and it's like, oh, who's she visiting? Of course, this is the timeline before the reboots, but also I think the technical term to call them is a requel, which is like a reboot sequel.
I don't know.
Yeah, like how, well, you got the 2018 Halloween film, which is like a reboot, but also as a sequel to the originals. That only is a sequel to the original film, as opposed to all of these fucking batshit sequels that we will cover eventually, unfortunately. Well, you've got a duology, which is 2, trilogy, which is 3, and you've got a quadrilogy, which is 4, and then etc. And sequels, requels, prequels, that good stuff. Oh, excuse me. So Bud and Karen get naked and begin to make love in a hot... I don't know what they start, like, getting all kissy and... It's like a big tub.
It's like, because back then they had, like...
I think it's just like a bath.
Some sort of...
Okay.
I don't know what the word is, but, like, I think it's like... You know how, like, people with chronic pain will have, like, cold therapies?
That's like cryotherapy, as we saw in
like deep,
possibly, or it's just to help bathe people.
When the camera did a pan, it did some therapy of 100 Fahrenheit.
It really went up.
But I can't remember. Green Queens had it at one point. Was it on Netflix? And they had a cold one and a hot one. So you'd go in the hot one, and then you'd go in the cold one. But that was like in the Ratched one. That was because like she had feelings for another woman. So it was that type of therapy. I don't know what the words are, but if someone knows what the words are for it, then leave it in the comments.
Yeah, I'm on the Halloween wiki, and it's just like, oh, it's just a pool. But it's not going to be like a fucking swimming pool, not... It's probably some sort of like physiotherapy thing, but it doesn't matter. It's not important. But Michael appears and turns the temperature up. Bud gets out to investigate, but is strangled to death by Michael before Karen is drowned or has her face melted by Michael after getting weird with his hand. You made a fair point of surely that strangling someone to death will take longer than it did to kill him. But as I said to you, he does use some sort of wire, which obviously if you put enough force of that on, that will go into your like throat. Then that can, like, if it's sharp enough, it also cut into it as well. So yeah, Bud is dead, and so is Karen, who just gets... I don't think it drowned her, but it also sort of scalded her. Like, her face was literally, like, peeling off. It was nasty. And practical, because this is the 80s and CG and stuff wouldn't really be... she did get really weird with his hands. She started, like, nibbling Michael's fingers. That's gotta be disgusting. He's just, like, murdered people all night. Ugh. So Loomis heads to the high school when Nurse Chambers, played by a returning Nancy Stevens, arrives, ordering him back to Smith's Grove. Laurie is visited by a rather obsessive Jimmy once again, but Laurie's seemingly unresponsive. Another nurse named Janet goes to retrieve Dr. Mixter, but only discovers his corpse, having been stabbed in the eye with a needle. Janet is unfortunately killed when Michael injects air into her temple. Now, as I had to explain to you, this does make sense, because oxygen anywhere where it shouldn't be already is going to be dangerous. I can't remember what I put in.
I've never seen it like on anything I've watched before, and I was like, surely he has to be in a liquid.
Yeah, it would make sense. But as it says here, forgive me while I get scientific, it's called air embolism. The description is, if an arterial gas embolism reaches the brain, is referred to as a cerebral embolism and can cause a stroke. An injection of 2 to 3 milliliters of air into the cerebral circulation can be fatal. And obviously, because that's in the head, that's going to be connected to the brain. And it says here, just 0.5 to a milliliter of air in a pulmonary vein can cause a cardiac arrest. So it does make sense. It's very medical, ironically. No, probably not, but hey, we have to for the sake of talking about it. Because we don't want to use the wrong information and be like, oh, it doesn't make sense how air just killed this person. So Michael enters Laurie's room and stabs at her, but Laurie has managed to escape. Jill enters after finding both of them missing, as Michael pursues Laurie, who is unable to phone for help due to the phone lines being slashed.
Now let me add something. She had
a broken ankle.
And she was moving around.
She did kind of limp, but then later on when Michael chases her a bit more, she is like full on running. I mean, yeah, it would make sense that you'd be crying out, but also, surely you'd collapse. Like, the idea is it's in a cast, it's meant to sort of reset the bone, but if you're going to be running, that's just going to snap again. Yeah. So Loomis alongside Chambers leaves the coroner's office and is taken back to Smith's Grove. Did I even mention they're at the coroner's office? No. No, I didn't. Basically, they went there to see... No, I did. I said about the dental records. Yeah, ignore me, sorry. So they leave the coroner's office and take it back to Smith's Groves by Marshall. Jill goes to find Garrett for help when Jimmy scares her, claiming he is unable to find anyone else before going to continue his search. Where he finds Nurse Alves, dead, drained of her blood somehow, and when he goes to leave, he slips and knocks himself out. I don't know the sort of physics and if this would make sense.
Seen it on the Vampire Diaries. You watch the Vampire Diaries, you know that Angus Elena, who has her blood like slowly drawn from her, make stuff.
Yeah, but did it kill her?
Well, no, because I think something else happened and they got to time. But I don't know.
I'm sure it's possible, but I don't think a little fucking IV tube in her arm would be enough to drain her. Especially over the course of, what, an hour it's been? Like, it's not been long in this film since Michael started his attack. But it doesn't matter. There's a lot of issues with this film that I don't really understand. Jill goes outside to drive to the police station for help, however she is unable to due to Michael also slashing the tyres. Michael got fucking shit done in this film. He slashed all the phone lines, he slashed all the tyres in the... Yeah, he was one step ahead of everyone. It just... He slashed all the tyres and all the phone lines. And, man, he knows what... He's got a fucking plan. Going back inside, she is stabbed in the back by Michael, who lifts her off the ground, somehow using a fucking scalpel. It's a scalpel, mate. How are you lifting her off the ground? Fucking hell. Knife magic. It's back again. It doesn't make sense. That's stupid. Laurie witnesses this and runs away, continuing to be chased by Michael, discovering Garrett's corpse in the basement. That Michael had just strung up to the ceiling using a light. But then again, he loves displaying his bodies, as we saw in the last film. Oh, Tiny's going for a cuddle with Stasi, who is now washing her. You don't like us talking about dead people, do you? I'm sorry. You're having a big wishy-wash. Sorry. So she manages to escape into an adjacent storeroom through a convenient window. And Michael follows her as she frantically calls for an elevator. She manages to escape inside of it, ending up on the ground floor where she makes it back outside and hides inside of Jimmy's car. On her way to Smith's Grove, Chambers informs Loomis that Michael is Laurie's brother. That is no longer relevant in the requel timelines. Laurie was adopted after the Myers parents passed, and Loomis forces the marshal at gunpoint to drive to the hospital, realizing that he is going to kill his other sister. Jimmy enters the car that Laurie is hiding in, but passes out on the wheel as Loomis and the others arrive, failing to hear or rise for help. Laurie tries to follow them in as Michael appears from the shadows. They hear her and let her in, just as Michael literally walks through a fucking glass door. Like, how did that man have enough force to smash a window?
That really bothered me. Her getting out of the car and then she was so low on screen.
Once they'd gone in, she then starts screaming.
And then she starts like, I just don't... I know it's a film, and I know we shouldn't be looking that hard into it, but...
That's the whole point of this, is that we look...
Like, surely she...
Facts and logic have not been used to its entirety in this film. But anyway... Loomis fires at him, and the marshal runs over to check if he is dead, but Michael sits up and slashes his throat. May I say, the marshal pulls a very, very fucking stupid face, where he, like, sticks his tongue out a bit. It's dumb. It's dumb, but it's funny. Loomis and Laurie run away from him as Chambers goes outside to use the marshal's radio, successfully contacting help. Loomis and Laurie ambush Michael in an operating room, Michael stabbing Loomis in the gut with his scalpel. Now, this is the moment that Amelia wanted to just quickly make a point, so we will put the video on hold so she can explain.
So, being 100% honest, and I'm fine with it, I'm fat. If you stab someone when they're fat, surely, if you stab me with a scalpel, that wouldn't do any. Surely that wouldn't do any damage because I've got fat on me, so it'd be going through the fat. And he did have a little bit of a pot belly.
He's got a pot belly. He's got a jacket on. He's got a shirt on.
So that wouldn't have done much damage.
Yeah, but you forget the scalpel is capable of lifting people off the ground, babe. This is a different kind of scalpel. This is a scalpel that's designed for murdering people. Let's go massacre someone in a hospital. Don't. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Don't do that either.
Overweight and you have enough fat on you to stab someone. Surely that wouldn't do a lot of damage.
It wouldn't do a lot.
Take it? Am I wrong or?
I mean, scalpels are very sharp, but I don't think you'd be able to stab someone the way Michael did to Loomis. I don't think... We could be completely wrong. I don't know. But it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Got a little bit of weight on them where they've got fat on them. Because the fat would just...
reflect it.
The fat would basically protect you, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, kind of.
Because, you know, you've got to get through the fat in order. That was just my fault.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of points in this film where it doesn't make a lot of sense, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was just a bit of failed logic. Laurie, however, is able to use the marshal's gun to shoot Michael in the eyes, which blinds him. He starts bleeding from the holes in his mask. He still has his eyeballs intact, but after being shot in the eyes, I think you should definitely A, be dead, but also your eyeballs should be missing. Michael blindly swings his scalpel around as Loomis and Laurie release gas into the room. Loomis orders Laurie to flee as Loomis ignites the gas, causing an explosion which kills him. Michael briefly staggers out before collapsing to the ground dead. Now, I know what you're going to say, so I'll save you the fucking hassle. This is technically them dying for certain, because this was when this film was going to be the last in the Michael Myers story. So before, because the next film obviously has nothing to do with Michael and Laurie, and then the fourth one brings them back and retcons their deaths. So we are going along the idea of this film is separate from them, because at this point the plan was to have them die definitively. So going by that logic, Loomis and Michael are definitely dead, and that rightfully so. Deputy Hunt, who the film forgot exists, receives an update outside from a police officer as Laurie is brought out in a wheelchair. A paramedic and Chambers help her into an ambulance as the film ends at last. Thank God. So that was it. That was Halloween 2. Our best kill, we agreed, had to go to Ben Tramer. Obviously, how could he not? Like, it's so comical. The fact that they just run over this poor kid without checking for certain, and just the way the van explodes afterwards, just to sort of rub the salt in the wound. Fucking so dumb, but it's so good. And the worst kill we thought could go to Nurse Jill, because it's knife magic, except this time with a scalpel. Ugh, it just doesn't make sense, and it irritates me every time. So yeah, Amelia, what are your thoughts? Any extra thoughts you want to pass on?
Not very.
I didn't pick up most of that, but she said that it just dragged on too long and didn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, this film wasn't very good. We think, anyway. We thought that there was just so much, like, plot holes that didn't make sense, lots of logic that didn't really work. Unfortunately, I don't know how you can make a film such as the first one and then just have it absolutely ruined in its sequel. However, that is, of course, usually what happens with sequels, is they struggle to live up to the hype of like the original film. It's a shame, really, but excuse me. What can you really say? But yeah, those were our thoughts. There's nothing more I can really add to this, other than what we've already really pointed out while we were talking about it. So yeah, that's about it. If I'm honest, I don't know what else to say, as I say. So, I don't know how else to finish this. I'll just do my usual outro. Thank you ever so much for listening. I've been your host as ever, Purple Midnight A, as ever by Amelia, the Obsidian Nook, Pal ASMR, all that good stuff. You can find her link in the link tree in the description, alongside all of ours. And it's going to be our Halloween special next, and then my turn. So we will see you on Tuesday for our next review. Bye bye.